Hey Beaumont, Troy here, excited for week 4 of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. This week, Harry has had some exciting adventures, including Halloween night with the Troll, his first Quidditch match against Slytherin, seeing his parents for the first time outside of his memories, and finally figuring out the first building blocks of what could be below the trapdoor on the 3rd level of Hogwarts by the introduction of Nicholas Flamel. As we move through the book, Harry is becoming more comfortable with the Wizarding world. He even says it feels more like home than the Dursleys ever did. He receives more Christmas presents than ever before and solidified his friendship with Ron and Hermione by knocking out the Troll on Halloween night. Harry's first Quidditch match starts the changing tides between good and evil. Hermione catches Snape jinxing Harry's broom while he's trying to catch the snitch, causing Harry to be almost bucked off his broom. Even in Hermione's eyes, Snape, a godly professor, starts to look like the evil one. But luckily for Harry, his natural seeking ability kicks in at the very last moment, and he was able to snatch the snitch. Come along as we fold one of the most important snitches in the entire series.
His broom gave a sudden, frightening lurch. For a split second, he thought he was going to fall. He gripped the broom tightly with both his hands and knees. He never felt anything like that. It happened again. It was as though the broom was trying to buck him off, but Nimbus 2000s did not suddenly decide to buck their riders off. Harry tried to turn back towards the Gryffindor goal post. He had half a mind to ask Wood to call a timeout, and then he realized that his broom was completely out of his control. He couldn't turn it, he couldn't direct it at all. It was zigzagging through the air and every now and then making violent swishing movements, which almost unseated him. Lee was still commentating. Slytherin in possession. Flint with the quaffle. Passes Spinnet, passes Bell. Hit hard in the face by a bludger. Hope it broke his nose. Only joking, Professor. Slytherin score. Oh no. The Slytherins were cheering. No one seemed to have noticed that Harry's broom was behaving strangely. It was carrying him slowly higher, away from the game, jerking and twitching as it went. Don't know what Harry thinks he's doing, Hagrid mumbled. He stared through his binoculars. If I didn't know better, I'd say he'd lost control of his broom, but he can't have. Suddenly, people were pointing up at Harry all over the stands. His broom had started to roll over and over, with him only just managing to hold on. Then the whole crowd gasped. Harry's broom had given a wild jerk, and Harry swung off it. He was now dangling from it, holding on with only one hand. Did something happen to it when Flint blocked him? Seamus whispered. Can't have, Hagrid said, his voice shaking. Can't nothing interfere with the broomstick, except powerful dark magic. No kid could have done that to a Nimbus 2000. At these words, Hermione seized Hagrid's binoculars, but instead of looking up at Harry, she stared looking frantically at the crowd. What are you doing? Moaned Ron, gray-faced. I knew it, Hermione gasped. Snape, look. Ron grabbed the binoculars. Snape was in the middle of the stands opposite them. He had his eyes fixed on Harry and was muttering nonstop under his breath. He's doing something. Jinxing the broom, said Hermione. What should we do? Leave it to me. Before Ron could say another word, Hermione had disappeared. Ron turned the binoculars back on Harry. His broom was vibrating so hard it was almost impossible for him to hang on much longer. The whole crowd were on their feet, watching terrified, as the Weasleys flew up to try to and pull Harry safely onto one of their brooms, but it was no good. Every time they got near him, the broom would jump higher still. They dropped lower and circled beneath him, obviously hoping to catch him if he fell. Marcus Flint seized the quaffle and scored 5 times without anyone noticing. Come on, Hermione, Ron muttered desperately. Hermione had fought her way across the stands where Snape stood and was now racing along the row behind him. She didn't even stop to say sorry as she knocked Professor Quirrell headfirst into the row in front. Reaching Snape, she crouched down, pulled out her wand, and whispered a few well-chosen words. Bright blue flames shot from her wand onto the hem of Snape's robes. It took perhaps 30 seconds for Snape to realize that he was on fire. A sudden yelp told her she had done her job. Scooping the fire off into a little jar into her pocket, she scrambled back along the row. Snape would never know what had happened. It was enough. Up in the air, Harry was suddenly able to clamber back onto his broom. "Neville, you can look," Ron said. Neville had been sobbing into Hagrid's jacket for the last 5 minutes. Harry was speeding towards the ground when the crowd saw him clap his hand to his mouth as though he was about to be sick. He hit the pitch on all fours, coughed, and something gold fell into his hand. "I've got the snitch," he shouted, waving it above his head, and the game ended in complete confusion. He didn't catch it. He nearly swallowed it. Flint was still howling 20 minutes later, but it made no difference. Harry hadn't broken any rules, and Lee Jordan was still happily shouting the result. Gryffindor had won by 170 points to 60. Harry heard none of this, though. He was being made a cup of strong tea back in Hagrid's hut, with Ron and Hermione.
There's only 2 more book club videos until we're done the first book. Good job, everyone, for all your hard work. We'll see you next week when we read chapters 13, 14, and 15. Bye, everyone.
"This," said Wood, "is the golden snitch, and it's the most important ball of the lot. It's very hard to catch because it's so fast and difficult to see. It's the seeker's job to catch it. You've got to weave in and out of chasers, beaters, bludgers, and quaffle to get it before the other team's seeker, because whichever seeker catches the snitch wins his team an extra 150 points, so they nearly always win. That's why seekers get fouled so much. A game of Quidditch only ends when the snitch is caught, so it can go on for ages. I think the record is 3 months. They had to keep bringing on substitutes so the players could get some sleep. Well, that's it. Any questions?"